There's a phrase that gets used in medicine sometimes called failure to thrive. Often it's used to refer to physical growth, but I think it can be a good descriptor for legacy too. Because for a show that ran for 15 years and grew into a cultural symbol, Supernatural never grew beyond itself. It failed to thrive. You see the show right here? This is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural's older cousin, a show that not only tackled vampires, monsters, demons, and the like, but it tackled mature themes like growing up, death, power, loss, grief. Everything Supernatural did, it covered. But it grew. It thrived. This is Angel, the successor to Buffy, and a show that some consider to be stronger than the show that came before it. Let's move on. You see this right here? This is NCIS, and I know what you're thinking. Jay, what? NCIS is a crime show. It's not genre, it doesn't fit. And yeah, it is a crime show, and no, it's not the same as Supernatural, but it's also a procedural drama, and grew through network television to become an institution. And guess what? It thrived, alright? NCIS Los Angeles, New Orleans, Hawaii. This format can thrive. And you see this show right here, The Vampire Diaries. On the CW, supernatural drama, started a few years after Supernatural. There's clear audience overlap, lower ratings, worse reviews, so then why the hell does it have 2 successful spin-offs? Why is Supernatural's legacy broken? July 21st, 2013. The CW is developing a Supernatural spin-off. January 29th, 2014. The spin-off gets a working title. Supernatural Tribes, retitled Supernatural Bloodlines a month later. April 29th, 2014. The 20th episode of the 9th season of Supernatural entitled Bloodlines airs. May 8th, 2014. Supernatural Bloodlines is dead. But why? Why wasn't Supernatural able to break out with a spin-off the very same year The Vampire Diaries did with the originals? Well, because Bloodlines sucked, and was a terrible concept. Yeah, Supernatural Bloodlines, which I will now just refer to as Bloodlines, might sound cool, and the title Supernatural Tribes might sound cool too. What's going on? Bloodlines? Tribes? It sounds badass. Guess again though, it's about a monster mafia in Chicago. Now, that isn't inherently a boring idea. A crime drama taking place in Supernatural's world could actually be cool, but the issue is that it failed to ever potentially live up to the standard of the show. It completely lacked any relevant connection to Supernatural. It focused on everything that's not interesting about the show. You see, when you do a spin-off, the goal is to focus on a concept that's already been proven to work within your own show. A spin-off like Angel works because Angel was a beloved character within Buffy's show. NCIS has its own cabal of shows because the format is easily replicable and there's crossovers between them. The original spins off characters from Vampire Diaries, placing them in a whole new world and context. The main premise of that show was even developed over multiple seasons leading up to the spin-off. Supernatural in its 9th season already had a whole world to explore. An entire ancient group of librarians called the Men of Letters could have easily sustained a spin-off as well. Or what about the Ghostfacers? Hell, I mean, they even tried that as a popular web series. A mockumentary ghost hunter comedy series is gold. Instead, it's a boring and gritty crime thriller that loses any of the charm of Supernatural. There's no hunting monsters, there's just old money politics with a young adult coat of paint. The central protagonist of the episode really doesn't help either. I mean, I've got no ill will toward the actor, but Innes Ross is a wet napkin of a main character, and the rest of the cast doesn't fare any better. Look, I know the CW has a stigma of overly conventionally attractive young white people that can read the lines and look pretty enough for a 20-second TV spot for the show, but that's all that was here. Around this time, the CW was so laser focused on its formula. Ensemble casts of those same conventionally attractive 20-somethings with love triangles and moody lighting. And look, it worked for the Vampire Diaries, it worked for the 100, hell, it even worked for Arrow. Bloodlines wasn't just Supernatural missing the mark though, it was Supernatural being twisted to fit a mold it never belonged to. And the show was eviscerated online because of it. Critics were lukewarm at best, but Supernatural's loyal fan base flat out rejected it. It is still the lowest rated episode of the entire show on IMDb. Not even the scuffed ass finale with Jared's terrible wig and the horribly misguided emo pop rendition of Carry On Wayward Son has managed to surpass it. Supernatural is a show that's on the road, hunting things, saving people. It doesn't warrant a dense lore of old families fighting each other. I mentioned spinning off into Men of Letters, but I think another cool potential spin-off idea is that of a Samuel Colt show focusing on the inventor of the cult. Now, I don't think that this would have made for a particularly inspiring series, but Supernatural creator Eric Kripke even put that Supernatural functions as a sort of modern Western, and translating that to an actual Old West setting wouldn't have been hard at all. It'd carry the same core theming of Supernatural, and hell, it'd even allow for the show to pick up the slack of delivering killer Monster of the Week episodes, allowing Supernatural to dive deeper in its mythology and deliver more serialized stories. Ultimately, the death of Bloodlines was caused by its own ill-fated existence. It's not an idea anybody wanted. It's a waste of an idea, a waste of time, and most of all, a waste of money. But you know what wouldn't be a waste of money? My Patreon. Seriously though, if you like these videos and want to help me keep making them weirder, longer, and more emotionally unhinged, supporting my Patreon goes a long way. You'll get videos early, behind the scenes chaos, and even some exclusive cuts that didn't survive the copyright battlefield. Now, let's talk about Castiel's daughter, Claire Novak. June 20th, 2017. The CW is developing a Supernatural spin-off featuring Kim Rhodes as Jody Mills. It's called Wayward Sisters. January 18th, 2018. The 10th episode of the 13th season of Supernatural airs, entitled Wayward Sisters. May 11th, 2018. Wayward Sisters is dead. But hey, the CW picked up the second Vampire Diaries spin-off entitled Legacies. The messed up part, to me, is Wayward Sisters kind of did everything right. It's featuring characters that we knew and grew attached to, and it has a premise that actually worked. It had promise. It was focused on a family of women, many of whom are trauma survivors banding together to protect people. It keeps the core focus of hunting things and saving people. It makes sense. This wasn't another attempt to cash in on the success of Supernatural or benefit a small section of fans. This was a genuine thematic extension of the show that I think would have only benefited it. Remember how I said that a potential spin-off could focus more on one-off episodes while Supernatural deepened its mythology and serialized storytelling? Well, I think that's even truer for a late season version of Supernatural too. This is the complete inversion of everything that Bloodlines was to me. It took over a decade of storytelling and compiled characters that made sense and captured the tone immediately. Spinning off these characters was such a good idea. All of them had enough character and meat to be leading characters, especially Jody Mills, who had been a mainstay on the show since season 5. That was 8 seasons of surviving. Sure, there are a few issues with the episode. Claire Novak never particularly stood out to me as an amazing character, but she definitely grew into her own over the show, and especially in this episode. Her dynamic with Jody was great to watch, and I think it would have only served the show well to have the mother-daughter dynamic there, and with Alex, it adds to it too. They could have had their own little Sam and Dean relationship, but I think that would have been awesome. Patience and Kaya weren't extremely fleshed out already, but the show actually took time to develop both of these characters prior to the backdoor pilot. It never felt like the show was stalling on the brakes to do it either. Patience is introduced in her self-titled episode, and it's not the best episode of the season, but it's a really entertaining return of Missouri Mosley, and a solid episode that doesn't feel like it's just there to introduce a character. Kaya is introduced in the show's mid-season finale in a way that honestly made her feel like she could work as a new character within the show by itself. She plays such a pivotal role within the central storyline of trying to find a way to Apocalypse World that I was initially surprised when watching the season that she was meant to be a spin-off character. Not only does the cast work when you look at how it would spin off from Supernatural, but I think it's a really fun roundup of characters. Claire, Donna, Alex, and Jody are all traditional hunters with varying degrees of experience within the role, and Claire's connection and past with Castiel makes that interesting. But once you add in Patience as a psychic who could see the future, the potential for that to make interesting storylines is already evident. Couple that with the teaser they had of alternate world Kaya hunting the group down, and I genuinely think this could have set the stage so well. So if it works so well, then why didn't it happen? Nobody really knows. The episode did well. It garnered 1.85 million viewers, which for a mid-season episode of a show in its 13th season on network TV in 2018, That's pretty good. It was critically well received too, and the fans loved it. There was outpouring of support, and look, I liked it a lot too, evidently. The official reason for it not coming to fruition by the CW president Mark Pedowitz is that they did not feel creatively that the show was where it needed to be. So they gave the spot to Legacies instead. And look, I don't have any inside information. Maybe production was a mess, but when the writer of the episode and potential executive producer for the show, as well as the current showrunner of Supernatural, both react with shock and anger, I feel like something may have happened. It got to a point where a petition to save the show reached over 70,000 signatures. And yet, here we are in 2025, and Wayward Sisters never lived beyond this backdoor pilot. But maybe that's okay. Maybe Supernatural didn't need a spinoff. While I wanted to cover and talk about the various attempts to spin off the show, I don't think a spinoff is necessarily the sign of a good show. Not to say anything bad about NCIS or Vampire Diaries, I'm sure they're great in their own rights, but it's not the show's quality that got those spinoffs so much as the easy to replicate popularity. And at the end of the day, I think Supernatural's popularity was its leads. It was a show that lived and breathed with Sam and Dean. They were the heart of everything. The entire purpose of it was to highlight their journey and allow them to develop. The show doesn't work with just one of them, and it sure as hell wouldn't work without either of them. If you take Sam and Dean out of the equation, it's not Supernatural anymore. It doesn't matter if you focus on the Minute of Letters, or their parents in an alternate universe that makes no sense with continuity, or Mafia and monsters, it just doesn't matter. It's not Supernatural, and I think the fans realize that. And ultimately, I think CW president Mark Pedowitz probably realized that too. Even if the fans seem to be locked in, not everyone is, and general audiences could have easily passed on it, leading to the show being canceled after only one season. Supernatural is such a larger-than-life show, with a legacy and fan base that should have carried it through multiple multi-season long spinoffs, and that never came to fruition. That's right, with only 2 seasons left until its conclusion, Wayward Sisters was the final attempt to spin the show off. After the conclusion of season 15, that was it. All it had was a single run of 327 episodes of saving people and hunting things. June 24th, 2021. The CW is developing a spin-off of Supernatural titled The Winchesters. October 11th, 2022. The first episode of the spin-off The Winchesters titled Pilot airs. October 11th, 2022. The Winchesters is dead. It got a whole season?